Sewlush, easy projects fully explained. Quick and easy Christmas stocking.
Hello, I'm Christine from Sewlush, and I'm just doing a quick tutorial on Christmas stockings. These stockings that I've got here are being made for a fair that I'm going to, a Christmas fair that I'm going to with my granddaughter. She's going to have her jewellery on display, and I'm going to have these on display. We're going to see what we can sell. I've just made up the pattern for these, and so I haven't got a template, but it's, as you can see, very simple. It's just a drawing of a boot, really, a square across the top, and then just curve it towards the bottom. I can give you the measurements for these, and I will put these at the bottom of the video as well. So it's 38 centimetres from the bottom to the top up there, 19 centimetres wide across here, and 25 centimetres wide across from the toe part to the heel. So that's the various shape and size of it, but of course you can make it any size you like. You can make smaller or bigger, whatever you need. To start with, I was using fabric like this, which is, as you know, Christmas themed fabric that is on sale, and usually shows all different sorts of things to do with Christmas. The only thing I found about it was a bit expensive, and so I've started making them in just scraps that I happen to have. And so this one has got giraffes on it on a yellow background. I've got a Spider-Man one because I had some Spider-Man fabric left, and this one's got polar bears riding motorcycles. So they're not exactly Christmas, but on the other hand they are a stocking shape, so I'm hoping that they'll do the job. The ones that I'm making are for pets, to put up a stocking for your pet, your dog, your cat, whatever. So some of them have got cats on, some of them have got dogs on. Yeah, they're not, these ones aren't for people. So first of all, I've cut out my 2 pieces of stocking fabric that's going to be on the outside. And then I've cut out 2 pieces of lining fabric, exactly the same, that's going on the inside. And then I've cut out 2 pieces of thin quilt wadding. This is called Thermolam fleece by Vilene, and it is, as you can see, a very thin fleece, but it just gives them a nice texture, a nice feel and weight. This is how you have to lay your pieces out. You want the 2 main pieces facing each other, right sides together, and they go on top. Then you want a piece of interfacing, and then a piece of lining. The right side of the lining should then face the next piece of lining, so the 2 right sides are together, and then finally you've got another piece of interfacing. So altogether you've got a sandwich that looks like this. So you'll have the 1 piece of interfacing on the bottom and your 2 outside fabrics right face together on top. And then just clip those together, or you could use pins, or you could tack them by hand if you wanted to. I'm using these clips because it's the quickest and easiest way for me to do it. Just go around and clip it all together, and then you're going to stitch your stocking starting at the top here, and you're just going to go completely around, leaving the top open, and you want about a 1 centimetre seam. So when you finish stitching it and turned it out, you can see inside you've got the middle part is your lining, and then you've got your interfacing, and then you've got your outside fabrics. So quick and easy. I'm going to make this little top in a V shape, and I'm just using my V-shaped ruler to do that. I'll just draw in the lines, cutting them out. And now I'm just going to stitch down here on the sewing machine and then add it to the top of my stocking. So now I'm going to stitch this little piece that I've embroidered onto the top of my stocking, making sure that I only stitch through the top layer and not the bottom layer. So that's going to be stitched around the top. So now that's stitched to the top, and all that's left to do is to bind the top with the bias binding. And to do this, I'm again going to use my plastic clips. I mean, you can use pins or hand-based or whatever you want, but I find these clips are really easy. Now, to make the loop that goes into the side there, you just take your bias binding and fold it over again, like that. Make sure it's the size you want for a loop, about that big, and then cut it off and clip it with one of the pins, one of the clips. Oops, like that. Put it to one side, and then you're going to start on one side with the bias binding. Now, if you want to, you can open this up and you can stitch on that fold all the way around, and you can fold it over the top. And you can fold it over the top, turn it under, and stitch from the other side, making sure you only got one bit of lining in it. I'm not going to do that to this. This is quite wide bias binding. I can tell you how wide it is. It is 4 centimetres wide when it's unfolded, which is practically 2 inches. So it is quite wide bias binding, and all I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to put it on the back and then fold over the top like that, and then clip it. And I'm going to go all the way around doing the same thing, and then when you come to stitch, you only really need to do one line of stitching, and that's the line of stitching. You can stitch it from the front and just stitch it up from the edge of the bias binding as you go around the top. Once you've got around to here, you need to stop, and you need to take your loop. You need to stitch down the open side of the loop so that the loop stays together, and then you need to put your loop on the actual side seam. I don't know if that's very easy for you to see, but that's the side seam of the stocking. And you need to put your loop there, and you can either stitch it into place or use one of these something. And then when you get around there with your bias binding, you want to just fold your bias binding over that loop as part of the binding at the top. Keep sewing, and then just tuck your end under when you get to there and stitch it flat. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. So I've stitched around the top, put my bias binding on, and also put my loop on. So now you can see it's ready to be hung. And hopefully somebody who's got a lovely little Jack Russell Terrier will think it's cute enough to buy. So on most of these I've added a bell just for fun, and I have got another bell, and I'll be hand stitching that on the bottom just to give it a bit of a fancy bling for Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a very quick and easy sew, but it creates something that looks like it was harder than it really was. You've got a lovely padded, fully lined stocking, and you can personalise it as you like. If you've enjoyed this, please rate me, and also have a look at my website, www